Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, hello everybody. Another episode of Christmas Gifts from the Kitchen, I guess. This time I'm going to make panettone, an Italian enriched bread, popular at Christmas time. You can buy them now almost everywhere. I love the things. It's relatively easy to make. The ingredients I'll show you later on. Right now you start by making a sponge, and that is 1/3 cup of whole milk that's been lightly warmed. I put it for about 10 seconds in the microwave. 1/2 ounce of dry yeast. I'm not using the instant yeast. I always use instant yeast, but this recipe I'm using the regular dry yeast. 1/2 ounce is 2 of those envelopes if you buy it in envelopes. A link to the recipe down below will give you these things in tablespoons and cups and all that sort of stuff too, but I tend to use weight, so that's 1/2 ounce of the yeast. After setting I use weight, I've got the sugar's a tablespoon. A tablespoon of just white sugar. 2 ounces of bread flour. This whole recipe is using bread flour. And that just gets mixed together a bit. The bottom of the bowl that we will be making the bread in on the stand mixer. And I have a piece of plastic here somewhere. Here it is. This gets set aside for an hour to develop. You'll know that your yeast is really active because this should really foam up and bubble up. But I'll put that aside for an hour, and in the meantime I'll get the other ingredients out and we can talk about that. Well, I said it was enriched. It sure is. This is the remainder of the ingredients. That is 12 ounces of bread flour, white bread flour. I'm using Robin Hood. If you're in the US, you could use King Arthur or whatever your favorite bread flour is. 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 3 tablespoons. 3 tablespoons. I think the 1/4 cup, 1 tablespoon has already been used, so that's 3 tablespoons. 4 large eggs. 1.5 teaspoons of coarse salt, specified coarse salt. I can't see what difference it would make, but I did have some coarse pickling salt, and that's what I'm using, but I would think any salt would do. I don't know why it would have to be coarse. 2.5 sticks of unsalted butter at room temperature that's been cut into about tablespoon lumps. That's 10 ounces of butter. 1/2 teaspoon of pure almond extract and 1/2 teaspoon of pure orange extract. Now this is where I start to vary a bit from the recipe. The recipe called for a cup of candied orange peel. I'm using a cup of mixed peel and fruit. It has a little more color to it. I don't find that the orange peel or any of the peels add the actual citrus flavor. You'll get the orange flavor from using the orange extract, and that's 1 cup of that. You could use the peel if you prefer, or any mixture that you care for. And the recipe also stipulated a cup of golden raisins. Well, I got to think about those. I don't like golden raisins, so I'm using the ordinary darker raisins. So once the sponge has finished its hour of leavening, we'll come back and start putting this together. I haven't said yet, I guess, but I'm working in the evening here because this goes in the refrigerator once the dough is finished and stays in the refrigerator overnight or for 12 hours. and you'll see why as we produce the dough. The dough is quite soft and wet, but refrigerating it, it also does some rising. It increases the flavor in that regard, but it firms the dough up so that you can handle it and make the loaves out of it. So, bring you back as soon as the sponge is ready. Well, the sponge has had its hour, and it's really smelling yeasty, and it's quite bubbly down in there. So now I'm going to add the flour, the 12 ounces of flour, and the 4 eggs lightly beaten, the salt, and the 3 tablespoons of sugar. This gets, with the dough hook, beaten on a medium speed for about 5 minutes until it comes together. And I'll bring you back after it's had its 5 minutes. Hopefully you can hear me above the noise. It's had its 5 minutes, and now you add the butter, 1 tablespoon at a time, until it's all been added and combined into the dough. Bring you back when I have most of it added. So that's the last of the butter combined into the dough. Probably took about 10 minutes to do that, a little bit at a time. And now it gets kneaded on medium speed for 5 minutes. Well, it's had its second 5 minutes of kneading. And now you add the remaining ingredients. A half teaspoon of almond extract. This should be on low at the time, I guess. And a half teaspoon of orange extract. The candied peel, or mine is mixed candied peel and fruit. Just going on low to get these combined into the dough. Maybe a little faster. And the raisins. I'll let this go for a few minutes on a slow speed until the fruit is all incorporated into the dough, and then I'll bring you back. Into a lightly floured surface. I'm just going to try to form it into a rough ball shape, sort of. It's very sticky, tacky, as I said earlier, I guess. But refrigerating it overnight, it will rise quite a bit. But it will also lose a lot of its tackiness and make it easier to handle in the morning. So you would either cover that with plastic wrap, or if you've got a bowl like this, you put the snap-on cover on. It goes in the refrigerator until tomorrow morning. I'll see you in the morning. It's been in the refrigerator for about 9 hours, I guess. And it has risen somewhat. But now it has to come to room temperature before you can work with it and shape it, because with all that butter, it's very, when it's chilled, it's very solid. So we'll let it sit at room temperature for at least an hour. Okay, panettone is usually baked in a special round panettone pan, which I don't have. But you can also buy these papers. I bought mine on Amazon. And if you buy a commercially made panettone, it'll be in a paper quite similar to that. The recipe here, as I said, is Martha Stewart's recipe, and she has a nice video. It's attached to that link. It'll be below my video here. The papers that she is using are quite a bit smaller than mine. She also gives a method that if you don't want to purchase these papers, using brown paper lunch bags, which you roll the collar down sort of thing until they're about 5 inches tall. I think that would probably work very well as well. And it's supposed to make 2 loaves. But my problem being my paper is much larger, I'm only going to make 1 loaf. There's no need to butter this or anything, especially considering how much butter's in this dough. But I'm just going to try to shape this into a round. And then, now that it's really at room temperature, it shouldn't take more than an hour, hour and a half to sort of double in bulk. And I'll bring you back at that point. I guess something else that I've not said, it really doesn't matter if it's baked in this shape or not. I mean, what we're baking here is a very nice enriched loaf of Italian bread, and this is a traditional shape. But if you don't want to do a thing with the brown paper bag, or go get yourself some of these liners or whatever, you could bake it in any bread pan. And you'd have the same bread, it just wouldn't be the traditional shape. So this will now go in a warm location for around an hour, hour and a half, and I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like at that time. It's been about an hour and 45 minutes, I guess, and it has risen quite a bit. I think a topping on them is pretty much optional. I don't think any of the ones that I've bought had a topping. Martha, you'll see in her video, she puts both slivered almonds and pearled sugar on top of hers. Never had pearled sugar, not sure I've ever seen it. I'm going to put some almonds, and it's a good idea to brush it, as she does with an egg wash. This is just 1 egg beaten, nothing else added to it. That'll give it a nice brown topping. And as she says in her video, do this gently. You do not want to knock it back any. Handle it carefully until it's in the oven. Should get a little bit more oven spring. So I guess with this larger container that I'm using, the larger bread paper thing, I think it's going to work okay. The oven is preheated rather, is what I meant to say, to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And Martha says that it should bake for roughly 50 minutes. Well, that was for 2 smaller loaves. I'm doing 1 large loaf. I'm not really quite sure how much time I will use, but I suspect I'll use an additional 10 to 15 minutes. I don't want it to burn on the outside, and I also don't want it to be raw on the inside. A lot of these will fall off. There's a process that we do after it comes out of the oven. It has to be suspended upside down. It doesn't have to be, but if you don't suspend it upside down, because of the nature of the bread and the content that's in it, it will sag back some. But if you suspend it upside down until it's cold, it can't do that. So, and that's when Martha flipped hers over to do that, a lot of the almond slivers came off, and I'm sure the same thing will happen with mine. So it's going in the oven probably for at least an hour. I'll show you what it looks like when it comes back out. Well, I left it for an hour. Fingers crossed, I hope it's done in the middle. Now you put some skewers through it, about halfway down. Just these little bamboo skewers. And one side didn't want to come out the other. And I will try to suspend it upside down between 2 saucepans. I'll bring you back in just a second. I did lose some of the almonds off of it, and the skewers were not strong enough to suspend it between 2 saucepans. So I've got it inverted upside down with the head of it stuck down in a saucepan. And now it has to sit there for several hours while it completely cools. And hopefully it will not fall. So I'll show you what it looks like once it has completely cooled. Well, it has completely cooled. I wouldn't say that it collapsed any, so the upside down thing, I guess, is a good idea. I've never tried it the other way, so I don't know if it actually would collapse or not. I don't think that I would add the almonds again. Some of those are more than toasted, they're burnt. And I think that's probably why when you buy one commercially that it does not have any toppings. At least the ones that I've bought didn't have any toppings. There were a few raisins that poked out through. I think there's one still sitting right there. I've been removing them because they burn as well. You can either remove them afterward or poke them in, and I didn't want to do any poking in before they went in the oven because I was scared I would collapse the dough that had just finished rising. Now, according to what I've read, this will stay fresh for a couple of weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks, something like that. Martha says traditionally it's cut in wedges. Probably that's true. I don't. I cut mine in slices. I like it toasted. The only thing I'll warn you about is you have to be very careful toasting it. There's so much sugar in it that it will burn quickly. I toast mine in a toaster oven with a glass door so I can see. It just barely starts to get golden, but that just seems to enhance all of the nice flavors in it. So that's my preferred way of eating it. So I don't cut it in wedges. And what I was going to say, they say this will stay fresh for 10 days to 2 weeks. Even if you don't buy one, the next time you're in a big box store and you see them ready for Christmas sale, flip it upside down and have a look at the sell-by date. I haven't checked in a number of years, but 2 or 3 years ago I did that and I was amazed. The thing was supposed to still be fresh come spring. So I don't know what is in theirs, but it's not in this one, I guess. So I think I'll try to cut a slice of that for you and we'll see what it looks like. Cut down through paper and all here. At least I hope I will. Yeah, there it goes. It's very soft because it's just freshly out of the oven. So I don't want to push down on it too much. I'll give you an idea of what the interior looks like. The smell of it baking in the oven was incredible. I think because there's so much butter in it. Also, the two extracts, the the orange extract and the almond extract that I used. It's really unique fragrance when it was cooking anyway. But it's nice and soft. All the different color fruits in there. Really good. I can taste the orange extract quite strongly. Can't say as I pick up the almond one, but it has a lovely orange flavor. Well, I will get this uploaded. Thank you very much for watching. I think this is the 11th video in the series Christmas Gifts from the Kitchen. And about now you should see the end screen popping up. That will give you a link to the other 10 videos if you're interested in seeing them. Thank you for watching.